So good evening and a warm welcome to all of you to the first webinar organized by Enable IST, a digital finishing school for the first time corporate aspirants. I'm Sarita, founding partner of Enable and your host for this evening. So this interesting conversation between these two stalwarts should provide you insights into what helps employers make the hiring decisions of a fresher, or in other words, a first-time job seeker. During this webinar, you will also have the opportunity to type in your questions in the chat box, and we will try and take up as many as possible during this 1 hour we have. Now, let me introduce the distinguished panel for today. Vinu Varghese is the Director and Chief Operating Officer of Vista Creations Private Limited, a leading apparel brand in South India and the Middle East. A professionally qualified chartered cum cost accountant, he had his early education from St. Xavier's School and College in Calcutta. He has over 35 years of experience in varied industries relating to manufacturing and service sector across the country. 22 years stint in telecom, he worked in the role of regional financial controller, vice president corporate finance, and chief operating officer, and led many historical events like the 21 million IPO listing, setting up of a vast network to serve 10 million customers to gain a market share of 40%, and also won accolades like the prestigious Sun Award, the highest recognition of Aditya Birla Group for team excellence. Prior to his stint with telecom industry, he also worked for 10 years with Indian Aluminium Company Limited and Tata Robbins Fraser Limited at Jamshedpur. The interesting fact is that this active Rotarian is also the founder president of CanCure Foundation, an NGO for building awareness, detection, prevention, and treatment for needy cancer patients of the society. Welcome, Vinu, onto this panel.
Thank you so much, Sarita.
Now on to our second panelist, Pradeep Nambiar. Pradeep is a senior HR professional who has lived and worked in India, USA, Europe, and Middle East. He grew up and studied in small towns and rural areas. He did his schooling in Malayalam medium in government schools. Pradeep started his career with military at the Indian Navy, where he was the lieutenant in the Naval Aviation Cadre. Later in corporate career, he also worked with UST Global, IDEA, Aditya Birla Group, KPMG Consulting, Philips, and Mars. In his current role at Boeing, Pradeep is heading talent management for all geographies outside the US and for Boeing Global Services business. He manages a team spread across Washington, D.C., Dubai, London, Singapore, and Bangalore. He has rich experience in business partnering, talent management, HR consulting, and organizational capability. Interestingly, Pradeep has worked with managers of more than 7 nationalities and managed direct reports of more than 10 different nationalities. He loves traveling and has covered more than 30 countries already. Best wishes for another 30 soon, Pradeep. Pradeep's posts on leadership and culture are highly followed on LinkedIn. He lives in Dubai with his wife, daughter, and son. A warm welcome to you, Pradeep.
Thank you, Sarita. Pleasure to meet all the members on this panel, and great to be back with you and with Vinu here.
Thank you. And over to you, Pradeep, for starting off the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you. So as we start into the day, we wanted to share a story that all of you must have heard of, maybe in some parts, maybe in full. So in 2008 November, Taj Hotel in Mumbai was under attack. A sad incident that happened. The memories are still fresh for some people. Some would have forgotten. A recent Netflix movie has captured a lot of moments in a vivid fashion. What I wanted to share while we are talking today is during this attack, one of the things that happened is about more than 500 member staff of Taj group of hotels. They knew how to exit. They are used to doing fire drills and other things. They knew how to leave the hotel in case of an emergency. but nobody left. They all stayed back. They were all in the hotel, taking care of the guests, making sure that they are safe. And some helped some people to leave through different exits route, but nobody abandoned the place of work. So the incident was over, and this specific behavior by the employees was highly discussed. Later, it became a case study at the Harvard. And one of the things that they found is one key reason or one key fact behind all these employees is that most of them came from small towns, rural India, tier 2 or tier 3 cities, as we describe. For example, all of them were not from Mumbai. They were from Kolhapur or Satara or Sangli or Amravati, or they were not from Chennai. They were from Trichy and Coimbatore and Madurai. So these were a bunch of people who came from humble background, smaller towns, and got trained by the Taj Group and the Tata Group overall and Taj Group, and remained in the hotel. And this background and how it influenced the behavior and how it made sure that they stood strong and faced a crisis standing with their customer was highly observed by everybody. The reason why we are sharing this story is, I'm sure we have people from a diverse backgrounds today on this call, people from all kinds of towns and, smaller towns, smaller villages, cities. Maybe you're not very proud when you talk about a college or an institution that is not heard by everybody. It's not really a disadvantage. Where you come from, however humble it is, it can be an advantage, not just for you, for the companies that you work for. So we are very proud that you've joined from all kinds of locations today. And we want to remind you that where you come from can be an advantage, and see it as an advantage and not as something that is not worth selling or not worth talking about. So with that note, we wanted to get started today into the conversation, and we will keep this as a conversation. There are no good, bad, right, wrong questions. So, as Sarita mentioned in the beginning of the call, please pop up your questions and happy to answer, as it comes up. And again, as we mentioned earlier, we will keep it as a conversation, not necessarily as a lecture where we are sharing something from the books to you, but we will try to talk about what we have experienced and share that. And you have a business leader here who brings in a lot of experience. So let's make use of the time, and we will roll in. So Vinu, over to you if you have anything before we get started.
Just one thing, Sarita, housekeeping thing. Someone is muting me. Since the conversation, sometimes I may message in case you mute. So if you can ask your team not to mute me while Pradeep is speaking, because as he said, we're going to have a conversation. Yeah, Pradeep, I think this incident is very, very dear to me, this Taj incident, because I was in Bombay that time. And at very close quarters, we actually experienced this thing. And I'm also aware of the way everyone saluted the team who were actually supporting that. The other thing basically was, I also started my career with Tatas. I was from Calcutta, as you said, but I started in a small town in Jamshedpur in the Tatas. And one thing which holds me so strongly to that group is the way they have their core values are so strong. And I'm not surprised that the team in Taj rose up to the occasion, which was not taught to them by anyone. It just comes. So some people are that way. And I think it's all depends upon the type of people they actually are looking out for and searching for. So yes, I fully understand that. And actually speaking, there is this conception that, to get a job or to get a position, you have to be from the metros, you have to be from a great institute, you have to be from a great socioeconomic background. Yeah, it does help. I'm not saying it doesn't. But the best people who have actually come out in the organizations are not really from these sort of backgrounds. They come from very, very different backgrounds. And they don't really come up with a silver spoon. They come from very different. The whole thing is once they come inside, the way they grow, that actually makes them what they are. And there are plenty of stories on that, which we can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing that I wanted to ask you is, I have as I was doing my HR roles, I have seen you as a business leader on the other side, making hiring decisions. And one incident that I remember, I'll quote that, and I have a question followed by that. I remember coming to you with the CV of a candidate who was a cricket player and has never worked in accounting. You were heading finance for the Circle at that time. And we had the CV of this person who's only played cricket and has zero work experience. And while we came up with the CV and suggested, would you look at this person? I think even the next level managers were not very confident, but you were ready to embrace the CV and talk to the person. And you mentioned to me at that time, although this person was playing cricket, he has high marks in his bachelor's in commerce and master's. And if he has scored such a high mark after playing cricket at Ranji level, means he must be really good at something. And that struck me. It has been almost, I think, 14 years since you have done that. Why did you look at this person? What's the story? And is there something that our audience can learn from it today?
Pradeep, I very well remember that candidate. We had recruited him, and he was with me for about 15 years in various roles which he had played. See, one thing is, I definitely have a weakness for people who excel in sports. Sports is something which brings out the best in you. You have faced so many challenges. In sports, you face failures. I don't think there's any sportsman across the globe who has never faced failures. And in corporate life, the biggest problem is people, when they come in, they're not expecting failures. So the biggest test of actually having gone through the failures is biggest experience which I already have. And when I interviewed him, I found that this person, despite his doing fairly well in the cricket scenario, he actually found the time to do his studies too. And he did fairly well in his academics. Now, he didn't have an experience. That's our job. Bring it across. Give me a person with the character and the other person who can face challenges. We'll throw them into the, or give them all the opportunities. And actually, he did a very, very wonderful job. He was there for us for more than 15 years.
Lovely. And when you spoke to him, what were you looking at him? And I don't want to, I remember some details of the interview. You did not ask him any questions from accounting and finance, but you had very different questions. Anything that you would want to share?
I was basically looking at his attitude. What was his attitude? Was he, I know his first love was cricket. I'm aware of that. And we allowed him to do that. He was absolutely more than fine with that. But I wanted to understand whether he was wanting just a job or was he really wanting to make a career. And I saw in him a very earnestness of learning and growing. And I think I was proved right.
Okay, lovely.
See, the point basically, Pradeep, we are in this demographic dividend, in which India has more than 62.5% of the population in the age group of 15 to 59. And I'm told that by 36, it'll grow up to 65%. Which actually, and this whole process started from 2005-6 and will continue for 50 years till about 2055-56. This is basically gives the potential to be productive and contribute to the growth of the economy. So this is a great asset that as an organization we have. We have 15 million youngsters who will enter the workforce annually for the next 5 years. But the sad part is not even only more than 75% of them will not be job ready. You know very well today the curriculum which is there in the schools and the colleges are so theoretical in thing there, but when they come to the real world, they suddenly fail because their expectations just not matching to what they have gone through that. The average age of the Indian in 2020 is about 29, and you can compare with China, which is about 37, and Japan, which is 48. So you see the level of potential this country has. Everything is ready and going. And you actually seen the last 10 years the way actually people have actually grown so much. All of us have seen it. We've actually all faced it and gone through it.
Lovely. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing that about the demographics. So what I gathered, Vinu, from what you were sharing is we have this huge youth which is not the case in other countries, because if you look at Japan or Western Europe, there are more people at higher age levels who may not be employable, who are retired or drawing pensions, whereas we have this big youth population. What I also gather is, if all these people are employable and pick up jobs and start contributing to the economy, it's a great opportunity for the country to do well, for all of us to do well, for families, countries, towns, everyone to do well. On the other hand, if this big group is not ready for jobs, it can also be a problem, because then we are going to land up in huge unemployment. So, and that's not going to be good for any of us. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it can be an asset or it can be a liability, if I may say in my accounting terms, because they can be very productive or they can be very destructive. It all depends on how exactly you want to utilize it, how exactly it is channelized, let me put it that way.
Great. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, and Pradeep, if I may ask you, if I may, you've come from a Navy background, and I remember you coming to this organization, the corporate world, from Navy. Obviously, you are a very handsome guy and quite a heartthrob of most of the girls around, and quite envy of most of the guys. But tell me, what is the difference between the background you came from and the corporate, from the Navy? You all heard so much about the Navy, the armed forces and stuff like that. From there to the corporate, what is it? What exactly is it that you, what is the change, or what is it that you felt? I've not gone through that, so that's why I asked you.
Yeah, great. I mean, very, very good question. Actually, what happens is, when you finish college and your university and walk into armed forces, the first thing that I thought is, you go in, you get a job, you become an officer in the armed forces, and your studies end, you start making money, and you get nice salutes from everybody, and life is easy. What I realized is that armed forces is one place where the studies never stop. This is not known to a lot of people. People think that you join military service and then you are always walking around with a gun shooting in the air, which is not really the case. So to give a specific example, when you graduate out of Naval Academy, before you are sent into your first posting, you go through a comprehensive study of different subjects, which includes basics of finance, basics of materials management, people management, organizational behavior, all of that. And then you get deployed in your workstation. Once you go there, again, you continue studying. You are expected to know the unit where you work, the environment. You are even expected to know the type of people that you are leading, their backgrounds, where they come from, etc. And also, even I was an air traffic controller in the Navy. I was expected to renew my license every year, go through an exam, and also enhance the category in which I operate by learning more and applying for the next level of certification, etc. So there was tremendous amount of study that was happening. Actually, some are experiential studies, some are learning from the books, some are some applications, some coaching others. So tremendous amount of effort in terms of continuously learning and preparing yourself. That was very helpful when I stepped out, because I felt that I'll be behind others who have done an MBA from a big institution or things like that. But I realized a lot of people in the corporate world has taken it maybe a little more easy, thinking that they have done their MBA and that's done now, and not ready to update themselves. I'm not saying all of them were so, some part, and there is always a part of the population which is continuously updating. So that was a big difference. So if you're willing to learn, study, it was very easy. I remember when I joined IDEA, I learned Six Sigma and went through the, certifications on my green belt and my, subsequently for my projects to get to a black belt, etc. So all this was amazingly helpful. So that, that spirit of learning was very helpful. That's the biggest advantage I felt when I came in. So my message to the people who are on the call, who are graduating or have just graduated, I think the first thing is to tell yourself that your studies are not over. Only thing is there'll be no exams, and the exam is you actually, doing better in a job, getting bigger positions or bigger responsibilities will be defined by how much are you willing to learn.
Yeah, I think that's the relationship just come very, very clearly now, because learning is something you don't stop. I am still learning. Even now I am learning. I learned so many things on the digital area, which I'm still picking up a lot of things every day, every year I'm learning that. And learning development is a very important aspect of the part of the job. So in fact, when this COVID struck us in the end of March, and so there was this 1.5 to 2 months, which was, we were stuck fully at home, if I may say so. So one of the things which I told my team across was I want every employee in the organizations to go through a training program of their choice. But only one thing was I wanted a certificate. We had organized a few, tied up with a few things there. I said, I want everyone. So I wanted them to go through a test also. I said, now you have the time because there's nothing, no production is happening, no sales is happening. There's no accounting to do because there's no sales. So I said, now I would like everyone to do one program which they feel, their choice of their program, but give us a certification. And by the end of April, I think I got practically almost all of them had gone through that. And I was surprised that some of the topics they've taken was so not directly in relation to the function, but something very different, which is very, very important. Because one thing I must tell you, when you come out of school and college, for me, I was a chartered accountant. So I'm supposed to be an accountant. So, when I came to corporate finance, so I thought the next step would be to be a CFO. But no, I actually changed course and went to business, to head the business. So you don't know how it's going to happen. So you have to be going around and seeing what's happening across. So you always need to, the cross movement of people is regularly builds up the character of a person to grow and take much, much higher challenges.
Yeah. One interesting question that I always get from people who are fresh grads or about to graduate again is, you guys ask for experience from the companies. If I don't get a job, I don't have experience. You don't give me a job because I don't have experience. So this is a catch-22, chicken and egg situation. You guys don't give us jobs. I'm stuck. What happens to me? And where do I get this experience from? Is a tricky question that we keep facing. There are a lot of jokes and memes about it on Instagram and WhatsApp about experience and what HR guys do, and other hiring managers do. Any comments, any message that you would want to share with our audience on this tricky situation about experience, or any stories that you have that you would want to share?
I think the way I look at it, experience has got the plus side and the minus side. Experience can also be a baggage. So when I was the business head over here in IDEA, I made sure that the percentage of the recruitment which came were freshers from all disciplines, from the engineering stream, from the MBAs, from graduates, different streams. We took a certain percentage of recruits which were freshers, put them through a grind of 6 months to 1 year on an area which, and most of them actually come, when they come as freshers, they really don't know what they want. They just want a salary. They don't know what they want to become, not any of them. Some of them have very clear, some of them are not very clear, some of them are very fanciful. But some of them are really fresh to learn. So basically once they come in, we put them to the grind in various roles, and maybe in a year or two, he actually shapes up into something which is, which is of his taste, which is for his benefit and for the organization. And there are plenty of examples. We have such freshers, absolute freshers, without any experience coming and making a career and growing. In 2 years' time, they're flying.
Okay. Is there any way that we, the school or college students can gain some type of experience? It may not be exactly relatable to the corporate job, but any suggestions there? See,
in the MBA grad programs, they have something called a summer intern. They have some summer interns. So in fact, what we used to do was we used to take the summer interns with the idea of seeing whether we can absorb them once they complete. Okay. It's a win-win for them and for us. They get an experience of the organization, so they have a couple of months, and we give them some roles which they can handle in, and they also would get to understand the company, and we will know how exactly they are able. It's far. See, an interview of half an hour doesn't give you anything much. There's a lot of gut feel goes into that. Okay, so but 2 months intern, which we do with an organization in an area of challenge, and each of the interns which used to do the internship, when we used to make them make a presentation to us after the 2 months period or whatever it is, in whatever field, how small it was. And let me tell you, Pradeep, since they come with no baggage, there's been a lot of insights which we have drawn from that, and actually we have taken it further with our team on that. So there are various opportunities which can be done. So I'm saying it is never too early to start experiencing the corporate world. The earlier the better. In fact, if I may say so, just this week, I was actually interviewing a candidate. I wanted a web designer. So we have seen quite a few of them. And then this candidate came. So his CV showed that he was 25 and he says he got 10 years experience. So I thought, I want to see this guy. Who's the guy who got 10 years experience in 25 years? So I thought he was something wrong in the CV, or maybe he's just bullshitting. So when I talked to him, I realized that immediately after schooling, he started working. He worked because he came from an economic background, which was not very strong. He had to support his family. But and he did he finished his +2, he finished his graduation, and then he went for some special, and because of his interest in web design, he went for a few courses outside that. And today, actually, he wants to become a web designer, and he wants to do that. Now, if a person shows so much of tenacity, if he shows so much of passion in what he wants, how can he not excel? I've just given the thing. I think I should be recruiting. He should be joining us by in a week or two.
Lovely. That's a very interesting case. He has 10 years work experience at the age of 25. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really, really inspiring.
That was his economic background, which actually forced him. But most of us need not have to have that. But having said that, let me tell you, me personally, at the age of 17, we had those days, the 11th, which was so. So at that time, actually, I had gone into one of the players to a 6 months work experience with someone, and I went there just to understand what corporate looked like. And I think because otherwise, we have very fancy ideas about corporate. A lot of people, when we go to the grad schools for campus, they feel the office corporate job is sitting in an AC room in a cabin and ordering things to be done. You have to go and see that's not really the work. It doesn't happen that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, this is exciting. So if my takeaway, what I'm hearing from you is, don't wait for the perfect job. And if you can do something while you are doing your studies, you had a web designer's example, whatever that is, please do that. That really teaches you. And that is valuable. That's very, very useful, even when you come into a company, even though it is not directly related. Yeah.
Yeah, Pradeep, if I may ask you, since you've got international experience, you've been in India, Kerala, Bangalore, you've gone to the international arena. How is it different? Is it different there? I mean, how is the thought process of these sort of youngsters coming into the corporate world? Is it different? Is it the same? What's your sense? And you've been doing a lot of talent, recruitment in those areas there. How different is it from India?
So there is a wide range of experiences that I've seen in different geographies. So first, I'll talk about a few comparable to India. Some of the Arab countries where economic development has happened in the last few decades, I see the children are equally spoiled as the typical spoiled Indian kids. There, everything is provided by the parents. And I'm not taking the name of a couple of countries. I've seen a pattern with candidates from a couple of countries, to the extent that, I started getting scared that, if I had somebody from here, they'll come with an attitude problem to office, because they would get into a fight with everybody. The moment you say no to anything, they have a problem. So that's a not so great example to share. On the other hand, some of the Western Europe, US, children working on part-time jobs, trying to make some amount of money during their high school to college days, actually, I feel prepares them with the realities of life to a great extent. Other place that I've seen is, some of the children, irrespective of where they lived, if the parents do something like, they have a restaurant or have a small business, if they were helping, that becomes a great preparation ground. I have worked with a very senior HR colleague of mine in an earlier company. She's a big name now in the HR name. She is the head of learning function for Novartis Pharma. And I can share this because she keeps sharing it openly. She is a Chinese origin Australian national who migrated, from Chinese side to Australia. She said her parents ran a small food joint somewhere in Australia, and she had to wash the utensils after the customers come. She said she couldn't reach out the pipe, the wash basin level. So she would turn around a big vessel, stand on top of that and wash plates behind the scene. That's her first work experience, and she used to share that. I'll share one more person who was the head of HR of one of my previous companies. Her name is Carol Wainana, who comes from Kenya. She became the head of HR for United Nations, earlier Under Secretary General in United Nations, head of HR. She always shared the stories of how she helped her father with his cows. They had more than 20 cows at home. So how she used to help, and managing resources is managing the feed and milking and all of that. And they had to sell half their cows for her to go to university because they had no money. And she always shared that story as to how she learned the basics of management, helping them with the cows. So what I wanted to share is sometimes it's not just, I felt it is not just going to a corporate or a structured setup. It is even helping your parents or whoever, your friends with a small business or a small farm or whatever you have. That's also great work experience, because you learn that the amount of milk that you get is not the same every day. It changes, but you need to go back to your customer, or you need to manage the feed or whatever that is. So that's really helpful. And again, a lot of things become much more real. I personally did a part-time job at the All India Radio FM station while I was in college. There was a program called Yuvavani at that time, and one day effort used to give you 150 rupees. It comes after like 4 to 6 weeks, you get a check. So I used to do like 2 or 3 days, 2 weekends a month. That used to give me like 450, 500 bucks. That was a big amount of pocket money 20 plus years back. In college, I think I would say that was good pocket money to have to meet my needs. So I guess there are options. Maybe today there are many more options with internet and other things. So it's all about finding it. Going back to your question, varying trends in different countries. The not so great trend is as parents start doing well, sometimes kids are pampered and we get into the comfort zone. Difficulty and adversity and not having all the resources seems to be one of the biggest teacher. And if any of our members of our audience, if they have some adversity or not everything, if you have not got the latest smartphone or whatever you wanted from your parents, believe me, it's a big blessing. It's a course for which you don't get a certificate, but you will thank your stars 10 years later when you have to face a budget cut or a lack of resource in your job. So yeah, those are my reflections.
I think basically there is a general feeling that some are born with silver spoon. We all know the biggest industries in the country today, which is Mukesh Ambani. You can take it. You can actually say in one way that yes, he's the son of a big industrialist. But how many know that he works 16 hours a day? And during this COVID period, so look at the amount of energy and passion which you put across to do whatever he's doing. So hard work, you can't replicate for the hard work. That's a very, very must for anything which is there. In fact, in the Aditya Birla Group, they have this value system, which is, they call it the 5 values, which is integrity, commitment, passion, speed, and seamlessness. And in fact, every year in the appraisals, that also is an area in which a score is given. This first 3 things of integrity, commitment, and passion, these are 3 things which I, as an employer, look for when I hire a person. One is, of course, the skill sets that always goes through the first round. But when I look at the candidate, I look at these 3 qualities of integrity, commitment, and passion. If these 3 qualities are there, believe me, Pradeep, anything is possible. It can happen.
Yeah.
Rest all you can learn on the job.
Yeah. I have a reflection on the thing, commitment and passion. Because a lot of times when we tell this to a college student or or a fresh grad, they wonder, how do I demonstrate my commitment and passion, and how do you guys sitting on the other side measure it? So how do you evaluate, like a fresher comes to your interview desk, how do you evaluate them for commitment, passion, and integrity? Are there specific questions you ask, or are there specific things that you look at to say that this person has commitment and passion?
So Pradeep, basically when we look at the CV, see, you have already advertised what you have done. Okay, so the CV is the way in which you look at. So if you have done, let's say, in the schooling or the college, obviously the questions will be, what is it that you've done significantly different in the schooling or the college? If you're a fresher, obviously, what are your tastes outside the academic is also a very important question which I try to find out. And like for example, I told you about the cricketer who we took. Then my questions revolve around cricket. What happens in certain circumstances? How does he work on that? How does he play that? How does he handle failure? How does he go for that unattainable goal? All those are things which you don't need to have. Once you talk, and you get the feel of this level of commitment and passion, and that can reach you anywhere. That's how the people who reach the top have come. You name one person who reached the top without this commitment and passion. I don't know whether you'll be able to name even one.
Got it. Yeah, that's very clear. I'll add one line to it. I was preparing with you last 2 days for this session. I think we both had full-time work to do, many things, and we have committed to Sarita that we will be here today. And what I wanted to share was, I know that you don't have to make a career out of this session today. You've achieved many things that you want to achieve. And what I really admire and wanted to call out is, we had one initial call to discuss what would be relevant to the students. We had a follow-up discussion between all our work on what is right for our audience and what should they hear. And today we are here in this session. So what I wanted to remind our younger friends on the audience is, not taking anything easy, taking it seriously matters a lot. Just because you're talking to a few people who are freshers, you are not going to define now Vinu Varghese' career. It is not taken easy. Enough preparation, commitment, and passion is shown towards preparing and coming here to meet you also. So I think when you say commitment and passion and all, it sounds very high and heavy. It's about really being serious about what you do and really invest time from the heart and not taking it easy. So just because you said, I have a hobby, I am whatever, let's say that hobby is reading. A lot of people write that. Listening to music is a hobby that I read in a lot of CVs. So what have you done about it? Did you do something about your hobby? Going back to what Vinu mentioned about cricket, do you really deeply know what you are saying? Have you done enough effort in that area? Are you really knowledgeable in that area? Will you lose your sleep to do something in that area? Yeah, how will you make a difference in that area? That really matters beyond these words. So you cannot prepare for this one day before your interview. You have to be practicing this every day.
We could take it easy, Pradeep, because Sarita was so pushy here. She was so pushy. You have a choice.
Incidentally, I have a question which has come in, which is very interesting and which is related to this. So the question is from Shankar, and he has asked, what's the key to success in corporate life? Is it talent or attitude?
I would give the score for attitude. Because if the attitude is there, the talent will come. That's the way I look at it. It's the attitude makes all the difference. Because talent can always be grown. You don't have to be born talented. Anyone with the attitude can reach anywhere, and there are umpteen stories for that. We are aware of that. You give me, I would vote for attitude. Pradeep, any take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. What you need to remember is the skills, what are valid today are not those skills are not valid tomorrow. Sometimes you look at IT industry,
Yes.
20 years back, the programming languages that were there, those programming languages are not there today.
Absolutely.
10 years back, if you learn to repair Nokia basic phone, that phone doesn't exist. Today, you have to repair an iPhone, right? So operating systems will change, software languages will change, what is relevant will change. But this can be learned, and you have to learn. We are not saying that you don't need knowledge. You do need knowledge. But as Vinu rightly mentioned, you can learn that. It's possible to learn. But if you come with a negative attitude, you cannot learn it and do anything about it. So it is required, foundational skills, knowledge. It is definitely required. It is not. We're not saying it is not required, but it can be learned. You can develop. But if you top it up with the right attitude, then that is a multiplier by 100 times. So even if you have some amount of skills, you top it up with the right attitude, right approach to work, you can do magic.
Yep. Thank you.
Are there more questions, Sarita?
Maybe we could take it up in another 10 minutes.
Okay, right.
Okay,
We can
no
continue
problem.
the conversation.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Maybe as we were talking about attitude, I think Shankar asked the question about attitude. One thing that comes to my mind is sometimes people struggle with the word attitude. They say, what is attitude? How do we, can you give me an example? Is something that I've heard. I'll add one line. One thing that I really loved about certain people who worked with me in different companies. I've seen in most of the Asian cultures, it includes our culture in India, we are very hesitant to say that I don't know. And it is impossible in today's world that you know everything. Yeah. So in many times, people who are comfortable to say, I don't know, and do something about it can be very successful. Example, to explain it a little more. When you say, I don't know, it doesn't mean that you say, I don't know, and then, go to bed and sleep off. But if you don't know something, being comfortable to say, I've not learned it, but making an effort to quickly learn, understand what you do not know. That is one. Two is to ask somebody else for help about something that you do not know. Makes a huge, huge difference. I give a simple, let me share an example. When I was just out of Navy, while I worked for IDEA, I didn't have any clue about what marketing people do, because in military, we don't market, right? There is no market, sales and marketing in the military setup. Of course, there was good learning. There were a lot of other things that you learned. So in HR, we had, I would create these emails on employee referral programs and many such things. And I used to sit next to the marketing team. There was a small, half partition that was separating us. I would ask the marketing team, guys, is this looking good? How can we make this better? And they gave me so many suggestions on how can I improve. I felt miserable about my own email, realizing, okay, you can do so many things. They even took on added graphics. They said, can you give data on how many employee referrals really succeeded? They said, can you publish, when you send new joiner announcements, can you say, if somebody was selected through referral program, can you put the name of the person who referred? So how can you improve? Small suggestions. Our referral program did so well that total recruitment, out of our total recruitment, about 45-50% started coming through referrals. So who made the difference? It's the marketing team, not me. I didn't know all these answers. So just an example of asking for help from, you would think, what will marketing do with HR? And this can be applied in any situation. So saying, I don't know, asking for help, whether it's from your friends, your seniors who got placed in other companies, asking them, how can I get a job there? What should I do? Your neighbors, your teachers, your girlfriend's cousin, boyfriend's neighbors, whichever way it is, there is no barrier. Ask for help from everywhere. You don't know who can help you. So that makes a big, big difference, and no ego problems to say, I don't know. Please keep that away if there is hesitation. That's one thing that I would share. Vinu, anything that you would add there?
I really agree, because there is sometimes a little bit of fear in us to say that I don't know. But the fact is, we don't know many things. There's nothing wrong with that. But the earlier you say you don't know, the faster you know about it. Otherwise, if you don't say it, chances are you will never come to know what it is. So there's nothing bad about saying I don't know, but ask at the earliest opportunity so that you get to know what it is.
I'm just hoping that this gives an answer to what Sriram has asked.
Okay.
So he says he has majored in finance,
Okay.
and there are not many finance companies coming to the campus.
Mhm.
And he's going to sit for the marketing interviews.
Mm.
And how do I handle the questions in marketing interviews as a finance major is one of his doubts. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
what both of you said just now gives some perspective to Sriram.
Yeah, I think this thing about being a specialist is something we should get out of our head fast. Because when I did my first job in Jamshedpur, I was a finance guy. I never gone to a finance company ever. I first worked in a steel company, then I worked in an aluminum company, and then I came to a telephone company, and now in apparels. So they got nothing to do with this either. So but when I was in Jamshedpur, I was very intrigued by that time. I think Telco, they had their controller, which is the CFO. He was an engineer. And he was a very successful, controller, CFO. They call it control of accounts or CFO. He was the CFO who was there. So then I think there were some occasions, I think in some forum where meeting was there, he was asked that, how come you're such a successful CFO? And I think the answer he gave was phenomenal. He came and said that, maybe because I don't know anything about debit and credit. That's why probably I was successful. So that doesn't matter. I mean, that can always be there. So how to get into a finance guy into marketing? I don't claim to be an expert in marketing, but I think when I moved from corporate finance to head the business, I asked my boss, my MD, I asked him, what do you want me to do? And so he says, see, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to the market. I wanted to go to the shops. I wanted to go to the retail counters. And I wanted to understand how the business ticks. And when I came to Kerala, I went for the first time in my life, I went to a district called Malappuram. And I remember I asked the zonal manager there, and I asked him see, I'm come here to learn from you. I told my subordinate, I've come to learn from you. Can you teach me what in the market should I know? And that's where my journey started. And then I went one by one by one. And after 2-3 times, I really started enjoying it.
Right. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for that answer.
Good. So are you coming with questions, Sarita, or?
I think we have just about 6 minutes to end your conversation. And after that, I'll take up the rest of the questions.
Yeah. So there was one thing which I wanted to also discuss, the sort of concern we face when we take freshers. There is a huge gap between the expectation and the reality. I think that is one of the things which we face. So when they come, for example, when you go to campus, everyone wants a marketing job or they want a finance job. So I ask them what in this thing. So they want a brand job or they want a treasury job and stuff like that. I understand what it means. It means basically handling all the nice side of it. But I went and recruited one candidate from IIM Calicut. And this was a person who was a little different. He was a BCom graduate who got into IIM Calicut. And he was insistent that he wants his first opening in sales, in real hardcore sales. So surprise, normally IIM guys, I thought will all come and do marketing, brand and talk all big stuff. So he said, I want to do sales. So then I asked him why don't you want to go to marketing? He said, boss, if you give me the opportunity, I would like to go to sales at least for 2-3 years, understand the market, and then I will go to market and decide what I should do. And he did exactly that. He started his career in Trivandrum. Then he came to Ernakulam. Then he's going to Bombay, Bangalore. He's flying. He's moved around. So I think so you have to be grounded to understand the reality. There's nothing which can replace a hard work. You have to understand what ticks. For that, basically, you need to understand there's a grind. And the other point basically is, see, when you come, this question which comes is, How does a person, when he comes to the corporate, he or she comes to the corporate, how do they manage it? What is the first sense? Let me tell you, when you went from school to college, I think there's someone.
Can you mute it, please? Whoever is unmuted, please.
So when you go from school to college, what are the first thing you look out for? What is the first thing you look out for? The first thing you look out for is friends, not your lecturer, not your teacher. Who cares a damn? That can wait. First thing is you want to create a peer group. Similarly, in corporate, the first thing is not the boss. They hardly bother about the boss. The first thing is there a friend? Is there in the peer group? How am I accepted? That becomes the first requirement, which should be there. Boss acceptance can come always afterwards. That's a big thing. The first thing is to get accepted, and that's why most organizations create something called a buddy. They call a buddy so that there is someone who's been about a year or two senior who can buddy with the person to sort of get settled in the job and build up their career from there on. So there are various methodologies which are used. The point I'm going to raise basically is there is a difference from the academic to the corporate world, and I think that is a transition which needs to be managed and handled. And the expectation, the earlier we get to know about it, that how you move from that space to the other space, I think that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. That's a very, very, very useful tip, because a lot of people think that when you go to a company, one is, managing your manager and just being in the good books of senior people will help you do well. It is not just about seniority. A lot of times help that comes to you is not from the most senior person. I can share in my own view, again, across borders, what really helps. I have to deal with a lot of very senior members in the organization in my current role. And my most useful source sometimes is the people who run their office in companies, what we call as their chief of staff or their office managers. They really know what is the right day to put a proposal on the table, what is the right day to put relevant topics, or they are also sometimes able to clarify to you what really is the priority for the head of the business. Because the head of the business or the CIO or CTO or whoever that person is may not tell you in those many words, but their executive assistant knows it better than anybody else. So if you think this executive assistant is lower than you in job level and status, and you don't want to listen to them, then you miss a huge point. They know this point, believe me, better than many other people. Just by listening to them, you can decide what to do on which day sometimes, and it helps a lot. That's one. And two, a lot of people who may not be the senior most, whether it's in sales and marketing, somebody who knows a region, a territory really well, or an accounting person who has good insights based on the numbers that they watch, they will be able to tell you things that an external big consultant or a senior person can tell you. So being able to listen in that space and respect them is extremely important. Looking too much upwards is dangerous. And I can tell you, Bollywood movies and serials create this impression sometimes that it is all about in simple Indian language, maska maro and kaam ho jayega. It is not about it's not about doing the maska all the time. It is sometimes also respecting, not sometimes, always about respecting people around you and be open and willing to listen to them and value them.
Maska may succeed for a small period of time, but in the long term, it has not sustainable at all. Because finally, it is how much you've been able to grow within yourself. I think that's the way it is. I saw a question in this saying about does the campus people get more salary than the walk-in candidate? The answer is it is not. See, every company has a certain specified role, responsibility. There's a job description based on which a salary levels are assigned. So it is upon which slot you are considered for, not which campus or which whether you walk in. I don't think that has any role to play in that. It's primarily the role which the candidate is considered for, which makes the difference as far as salary is concerned, not the specific where you came from. That's not the thing. So if you are considered for a higher role, there you get a higher salary. If you're considered for the normal role, then you get the normal salary. That's the way it works.
Yeah. And I also see a question, Sarita, if you are okay to take it. There is a question from Nirmal Krishna on, I'm a last year engineering student, and the question says, if you are interested in music and literature, will that be detrimental or advantageous in the course in my corporate life or in a management firm? I can take a shot at this, Vinu. Please feel free to add your perspective. In fact, having at least one more big interest is usually very helpful. It's not a disadvantage. It is normally an advantage. There is this famous Steve Jobs story, which many of you would have read, as to how learning calligraphy when he was a university dropout, how did that help him to invent fonts in a Mac, and how did it change the concept of having fonts? So he learned calligraphy, and he combined that with his knowledge of software engineering. That gave birth to the font system in the computers. So having an additional interest usually is advantageous and not disadvantageous. It doesn't mean that if you drop your work and if you're playing music during work hours and do not deliver what you're expected to deliver, then of course it's a problem. It's all about how you do well, going back to our earlier conversation. How do you show your commitment, your passion at your work? So if you are working in a management firm, let's say you're doing a job, you need to do that really well first. And then how can you bring your learnings from music into it will be of great knowledge. I can give you a quick example. I have 2 members in my current team who are very good with painting and drawing. And so I'm not in a job of running an art gallery, so I don't need painting, right? You will think, what is the benefit? Now I can tell you, we are expected to present a lot of complex ideas to senior management many a times. And I am pathetic in drawing. If I draw something, if I draw an elephant, it would not look even like a cat. It would look like a rock. So it is as pathetic as that. And I am not good with visualizing data and putting it in a way that somebody can understand. I always tap at the door of these 2 wonderful creative people in my office, in my team, and they put it together in a beautiful visual format in one PowerPoint slide. It is not boring. It is colorful. It communicates the idea so nicely that each time we have something to visualize, we use their skills in painting. Of course, again, it's not a creative painting, but they convert a data-based idea into a nice visual, and we use that for our communication. So just giving an example of how painting is getting used in this setup. So all these type of skills are useful. You need to be smart to know how to apply it, where to apply, and of course do your job, basic job really well. If you drop that and go and if you're painting all the time and not delivering your work again, that can be an issue. So this is how I see your skills and interests helping you at work.
Most corporates believe in the policy. Most corporates, professional corporate companies, they believe in the policy that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Very seriously believe in that. One of the first things when a new entrant joins the organization, they all try to find out what is the other interests. Is he or she a singer? Is he a good dramatist? Is he a player? Because they all have clubs. In the organization which I was working with earlier, we used to have clubs for all of these things. There was a cricket club, there was a biker club, hiker club. There was so many music clubs. So people of common interest is join and they do it. And I remember Shanti's team used to be working every Friday. This what Friday Funda or something. They used to have it. There's so many things. So it's not all work. It's also play. But we believe that the more you play, the more you work. That's the way it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm very sure that the entire crowd would have taken away quite a few points. I was just jotting down the summary of all that you spoke, and I'm going to try and summarize it for the benefit of all those here, after which we will take up a few more questions. So what I heard you say is, one is that be good at whatever you do, because that's going to form an important part of your story in the mind of the prospective employer. A second point I heard is that try and create your own story and early experiences in line with what you want to be. And a third one is you talked about using the digital part to their own advantage, the digital savviness of the entire young population to their own advantage. And another important aspect that I heard is asking for help. See asking for help as an ability and not a disability. And incidentally, helping is the business Enable ISTs into, helping the young job seekers become more employable. So I'm going to pick up a few questions which have been directly sent to me as well, which you may not see on your screen. Some of them have got answered to some extent, but not completely. I'll take up even those. So the first question is, sir, what helps youngsters cope better in their first job? When I talk to my seniors, I'm getting very different answers. Both of you have tried answering this in so many words, but if you could give 3 points that can help a person cope.
See, if I may start, I think first of all, be yourself. Don't try to only please your boss. That won't get you too far. Be yourself and build up yourself. You first understand and align with the organizational goals. But just trying to be always trying to be the apple in the boss's eye, I don't think that's worth it. It's not really worth it. By the time you get the apple in the eye, that person may have moved there, someone else would have come. I think the more important thing is see how you can build yourself and grow into the role. So the role, first thing is what I would expect a new person is, the first thing I would want is the person should understand the role. That's the first and most important thing. And how does that role fit in the overall organizational objective? That is the first relation which should be done. So now what I do in my organization is the day the person joins, he has a set of KRAs and KPIs, and there is a team who sits with them to understand, to make the person understand how to achieve it and what are the things which we need to, and how this is going to make an impact as far as the overall organization goes. See, once you sit and work and get the clarity yourself, don't expect everyone to give clarity. It won't happen, because everyone have their own views. Okay, if you go to 3 people, all 3 people are human beings, would have their own views on that. First, you bring the clarity into yourself and see how you can build and grow into that. I'll give you one small example. I mean, if I may say so, it was not in the it was towards the early part of my career. I was in one stage in which I was reporting concurrently to 3 bosses. 3 bosses. It's a very funny thing. It happens that way. Since I'm in finance, you have a functional boss, you have an operation boss, and you have a direct boss. There are 3 things there. And typically, as you know, and 2 were in the same location, 1 was in the corporate. So typically, you see, their views will not be exactly aligned. So there was this, I was in a sort of confusion, and then I went to corporate and I met my 3rd boss. And then over the evening, I chatted and I told him, like, boss, I have this confusion. No, this person is there. Whom should I listen to? And you are the 3rd person. So I think his answer was very simple. He asked me a question. What do you know? Normally in such a situation, what do you do? If there are 2 contrary things, what do you do? So I thought for some time. I said, I do what I think is right. He said, just continue doing that. Just continue doing that. You please understand what is right for the organization and work it. And they will soon understand that's the right thing. So I don't think you need to go just to go and please a boss. That's not the way. A day will come and you realize that you are your own boss. That realization will come at some point of time once you get into that. So the most important thing is you have been taken in the corporate for a particular purpose. Understand the purpose. It's not easy. It'll take some time. Understand the purpose. And once the purpose is understood, let me tell you, life becomes far more easier.
Yeah.
Would you like
Yeah.
to add
Very,
anything, Pradeep?
yeah, I'll maybe just add a couple of things to what Vinu mentioned. Very, very important point as to what Vinu mentioned. And the person who asked the question is actually preparing himself for the corporate world. This is exactly what happens when you go to workplace. As your friends told you three different things, people will tell you three or four different things. And as Vinu said, this is where you have to make up your mind. And I like a word that is used by the founder of Netflix. He keeps saying when they hire people, they look for people who can make their own judgment.
Yes.
Yeah, the word is judgment. So listen to everybody. It doesn't mean that you cut off people when they are giving you an opinion. Okay, everybody's opinion comes from a place. Listen to their opinions peacefully, process it, clarify if you have questions. Yeah, this is not a TV channel debate where you have to prove that what you are saying is right. Listen, if you have not understood, ask clarification questions. Then you make up your judgment as to what is right. This word judgment is very important, and if you have no judgment of yourself, then you will be kicked around like a football by everybody. And you may not have a point of view, you may not have an opinion. When I hire people, I normally look for people who can bring a point of view. I always ask questions, and I always seek for a point of view. I give them a situation and check whether they can come out with a point of view. If I see them, they are trying to guess what I like, I generally screen them out from positions above a particular level. That means, in my view, they will be political people who are going to manipulate the system, and I'm scared of such people. So if people can bring a clear point of view, that's very valid. So when you go to a place of work, be respectful. It does not, you having a point of view does not mean all the others are dumb people or stupid people, okay? But don't hesitate to put your point of view in a respectful way and be ready to listen to others. Yeah, that's very important. And from the beginning, we've been saying one thing: do your job really well. There is no substitute for that. Do your job really well. If you fail to do your basic job, then you say, oh, I have a great point of view. Okay, thank you. Nice, keep your point of view to yourself. You were supposed to, you're supposed to, whatever, you're in a software job, you have to program, you have not finished your programming. And you're saying my interest is music, so you were watching YouTube videos on music, and then you were doing something else, and in the evening you said, now my point of view is that I should be listening to YouTube video and not working. It doesn't work. So do your job really well and be authentic, listen to people, and have your point of view. And companies ideally need people with a point of view and not robots. All the jobs that can be automated, they will give it tomorrow to a machine, and the machines will not have point of view. Believe me, artificial intelligence will not have point of view. Yeah, it's only
Right.
humans that. So bring that, please.
Yeah, lovely. I see a lot of questions which are anxious questions around the current situation of pandemic. And the gist of it is that these youngsters are not getting opportunities for internships because of what's happening. And hence, how does one get into a corporate? What can one do to get into a corporate without an internship and without getting an opportunity to prove oneself in the corporate world?
If I may answer. Okay. I think the world is realizing how to live with the pandemic. I think that is slowly coming. We don't have an answer yet. The vaccine will come. How far it will be true, we don't know. But I think gradually the world is realizing how to live with it. I think that is the first thing which I think everyone should understand. Second point is every organization is looking at how to manage this in this turbulent time. Every organization looking at it. Some may drop off, which is understandable. But new ones will also come. In fact, new ones will come up and grow much, much more bigger than the others also. So what we will see is a shift in the industries. What was taken as granted earlier may not be changing, and something new will come in. So the point is, the opportunities will come, and I don't think anyone should get too overtly bothered about that. I think we are, I would say, I wouldn't say that we are fairly over the hill, but yes, we are seeing the green shoots as of now. So I think let's first get that thing on your space. Okay, first point. Second thing basically is, okay, now in this pandemic, people are not getting internship. Okay, Is it you want internship for experience, or do you want internship for the salary they offer? Okay. Now let us understand one thing. At this point of time, I don't think many organizations would come forward to take an internship on a salary level set. There are many, but there could be a lot of things there. But if you offer yourself to gain the experience, I'm sure there'll be organizations who will be willing to look at it, because actually they are fighting a large battle to come out of this. So they're looking at a lot of fresh minds to come and give ideas and look at it. And the upside is, if you are able to be in that role as an intern, and if you're able to prove yourself, by the time you come out of the college, they'll be after you to take you with a high salary, because they have a ready-made person whom you've already been proved. So the point which you should be looking at is look at the experience and not look at the stipend which is offered along with that. That may have taken a hit. And I'm sure if you look out, you will definitely find it. And actually, this is an opportunity which you can actually leverage as you go along.
Right. And a lot of organizations are providing digital opportunities.
Oh, yes, plenty.
Right.
The whole we ask in the industry is changing, and it's changing rapidly.
Absolutely. Right. Pradeep, I have a question for you, and probably this needs to be replied from an HR angle. This question from the participant is about English language.
Okay.
So Manish asks, how should one work on English speaking skills, and how important is that to find a job, especially jobs which don't require much interaction?
Manish, you have asked a difficult question, because
Can I ask a question on top of that, please?
Sure.
To the HR expert here, which job do you have which doesn't have interaction? Can you just tell me? I don't know. I just want to understand. Pradeep, is any job which doesn't need interaction?
I was talking exactly on that. You read my mind. So maybe I hear where Manish is coming from. If your language skills are, if you're judging that your English language skill is not the great, so should you minimize interaction, is what maybe that's what he's thinking about. But Manish, as Vinu just mentioned, and my reflection too is, all the jobs require some type of interaction or the other. The type of interaction could be different. Some jobs will require interaction with your customer. Some job will require interaction with your colleagues. Some will require interaction with an external party in the organization. But you will see that all jobs will require different types of interaction. So my request to you would be, don't worry about interaction part. It is okay. It is okay to be in jobs with interaction. Different types of interaction will exist. Now let's come to the part of communication skill. So first of all, first thing to remember is that communication skill starts by not language, by having clarity, right? What you want to communicate, you should be clear in your mind. Once you are clear about what you want to tell somebody, or what you want to write in a mail or on a PowerPoint presentation, then comes the language. Whether you want to write that in Tamil or Marathi or English comes after that, correct? First, you need to be clear about what you want to communicate. So most important factor, do not equate communication skills with English language skills. Communication is about having clarity in your mind, able to write it down in a simple way and in a way that the other party can understand. Now the other party understands only English, so English becomes important. And in corporate world, most of the places we need English language skill. So it is important. It is definitely important within India and outside. When you're seeking for a job, English language skill becomes important. You need to develop the language skill. So I think what I heard in the first part of the question is, how can I develop English communication skills? Is that correct, Sarita?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So the only way to develop swimming, driving, and language, these things you need to practice. All these three things, it is very difficult to learn. Swimming, you cannot learn by being on the ground. Driving, very difficult to learn if you are inside the bedroom or tea shop. You need to be out there on the road. Same is the case with this language. So when you swim, you'll drink a little bit of water if you have learned swimming. When you drive, yes, you might you may not get that right on day one. If you're cycling, you will fall a couple of times. Same is with English language. Don't take it more seriously than that. Just get out there and practice. And that's the only way to learn the language skills. Your friends who are not fluent in the language, or those who are fluent, might make fun of you a little bit initially, but it's okay. Let them make fun of you a little. I can tell you a few things that I did while I need to practice. So I'm not putting my date of birth on the screen, but the internet was not this active 25 or 30 years back, when we guys were preparing for the world outside. So we didn't have YouTube videos to listen to and learn from, etc. There were options were limited. So what I did is at that time, there were a lot of radio channels which had a lot of English programs. So I listened to them, and I tried to speak with them in my room. I also did a lot of mirror practice, because I was embarrassed to practice in public. So I did my mirror practice in my closed room. So if somebody is listening to you from outside, they might think that you've gone nuts. So we can, but you can still do your mirror practice. These days you have a lot of videos, so you can use your YouTube videos or listen to them and practice. One thing that I'll tell you not to do, which is don't over focus on your accent, because I also meet a lot of people who have listened to some video or listen to Hollywood movies, and they are trying to sound like this Hollywood character, and you don't understand anything that they are trying to say. So first, get the basic communication right. Later, you can improve your accent if you want to sound like Shashi Tharoor or whoever that is. You can practice that later. But first, if you get your basics right, it is okay. So focus on the basics. So I'll just summarize this. To start with, don't worry about or don't think of a job that will not require interaction. You will need it. So unavoidable. First, you need to practice. No way, without speaking, writing, you're not going to get it right. So practice it. Speak. If you don't want to speak to others, mirror practice, listen to more movies. A lot of videos and such things are available on YouTube. There are even some companies, maybe I'll try to talk about that later to you, or I'll try to connect up those groups that are helping students to prepare on English language skills. I happen to talk to a couple of them. Maybe we can bring them to this platform later, but start practicing and don't worry about your accent. Just get the language part right so that, you start moving. So I relate fully to this question when you're speaking. And I have embarrassment and smile on my face when I'm answering this question. So you'll get there, and I'm sure maybe you'll love a job which requires a lot of interaction later.
Right. Thank you. We have another very interesting question. And this is about choosing the organization that you want to work for. And again, it's coming from the anxiety of the current situation, I can see, because the person is asking, should I actually wait for my company, where I see a future, no matter the size of the organization, or should I jump on in the first organization that I get in? What should be a wise thing to do in this current situation?
Say, when in our time, I remember one of the first organizations when I joined, they used to note everyone by the year of retirement, saying that, you are going to be 2010 or 2020, 2025. So initially I was getting very surprised. What is this date? Everyone's known by the retirement date, which means you are there for so long. So those days, people were there for lifetime. They used to take a job for lifetime. But today it is considered very unfashionable to be in the organization for too long, especially the first few jobs. That's the way it is. I know it's right or wrong. There's a both plus and minus side of it. But the point today is, I think speed is of essence, which I see. So yes, it is good if you can get the best organization. I'm sure for a marketing guy, a company like Levers or ITC all makes a lot of sense. But don't wait for that. Get what you can and build up yourself. And maybe you can get over there with 2 years experience and get there into a much better role afterwards if you want to. So I wouldn't say wait for the dream job to come. You make the dream happen and you jump. And if you feel that there is a better opportunity for you. If you feel your marketability is better, go ahead. But don't wait for that dream job. That's wasting time.
Yeah.
Right, Pradeep?
I would tend to agree. Doing anything smaller before you get your dream jobs prepares you better. I can share that my first job was with a small firm even before I went and joined Navy. This company had everything under their umbrella. It was run by like 2-3 people. They had everything from placement services to interior designs to advertising they did. So I've worked there only for about 3-4 months, but I've learned a lot of things from there that are very, very useful. I've gone and sold interior designing services to clients. I've gone and sold advertising, copywriting, and visualizing and all of that to clients. I myself didn't know what I was selling half the time. Interior design, I have no idea about interior designing. I'm not an engineer. I've not understood all this. But even now, I remember office interior selling is 4 steps. False ceiling, there are 3 types of material. And then, office furniture, partitions, and carpet, vinyl carpet, this carpet, the 4 types of carpets. And then you combine all this, you can do a pricing. And it's an excellent learning. You learn how to price, you learn how to talk to somebody, who's a client. It helps me whether I'm doing an HR job or any other job. It really has been helpful from that angle. So I would fully agree with what Vinu said. Do not wait for the ideal job to come. And it's perfectly fine to get started, learn rightly, right things. Only small thing that I will add is, if you think the place that you're going to join is unethical, don't join. Everything else is permitted. If it's a crook place, they're doing something that is not right with your value system, please don't join. Even if they're going to give you $1 million salary, please stay away from it. Again, only in Bollywood or Hollywood movies, you will do great if you join one such place. In real life, you will go to jail, definitely. So if your final destination, if you're in your dream, if you're not dreaming about jail food, please don't go there. Everything else is okay. Small salary is okay. Office which is not looking great is okay. Just go get started. Do enjoy it, learn it, and keep looking for your dream job in the process. Don't stop looking for it. And when you get there, you would have learned so many things that your dream company will like it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, there are so many more interesting questions that I can see here, but for want of time, I have a suggestion to make to all those whose questions were unanswered. You could write into the email ID assist@enableist.com. I'll repeat it one more time, assist@enableist.com, and we will try and get back to you with the answers. Another suggestion that I have for your friends who missed out on this particular session is that if you think this will add value to them watching this session, it's going to be available on the Enable IST channel on Facebook and YouTube very soon. So they can go and watch it there, right? So you could also visit our website, www.enableist.com, and get to know more about us. And I must thank the panelists for joining us today. I'm aware that both of you had extremely busy days, last couple of days, and you found the time. And probably that's a quality that the students who have joined in here can learn. Preparing in spite of finding time, in spite of you being busy and not taking anything as a small task. And thank you so much, students and the prospective employees of great organizations for joining in today. Have a good evening and a bright career ahead. Thank you very much from all of us at Enable.
Thank you, Sarita. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Wonderful interacting with every one of you to get to know and speak to you all.
Thank you.